Hey, it's
Gotcha.
Wild Josh from the History Geek, and I'm joined by Kyle, Chase, and Ezra. You most likely are familiar with the Keep Calm signs, but are you aware of their complete history? In this episode, we're going to tell the story of the Keep Calm, Carry On campaign. Now, let's get geeky.
In June and July of 1939, the English Ministry of Information began a campaign of hanging posters which were intended to strengthen the morale of the citizens of England in the event of war in Europe. The focus was on how courage would be an important part of a war effort.
The Ministry of Information sought British illustrator Ernest Walcousins to design the posters. There would be a series of 3 different posters that would be hung and distributed, each featuring the Tudor crown at the top. The first would have the words, "Keep calm and carry on." The second, "Freedom is in peril, defend it with all your might." And the third, "Your courage, your cheerfulness, your resolution will bring us victory."
Around 2.5 million copies of the posters were made, but they were not all immediately distributed. Instead, it was decided that portions would be released and hung after air raids as a way of bolstering morale. The campaign was short-lived, however, and by 1940, it was cancelled altogether and considered by most to be a failure.
In the middle of 1941, 14 million copies of a leaflet entitled Beating the Invader were distributed with a message from Prime Minister Winston Churchill. The leaflet started off with the words, "If invasion comes, stand firm and carry on," which was a slight variation of the wording from the earlier campaign.
In 2000, Stuart and Mary Manley, the owners of Barter Books in Alnwick, Northumberland, were sorting through a box of second-hand books that they had purchased at an auction when they uncovered an original copy of the Keep Calm and Carry On poster. The couple decided to have it framed and hung up in the shop near the cash register. Within a short period of time, that poster began to garner attention. So the Manleys did what any good entrepreneur would. They made copies and began selling them in their store.
In 2005, Guardian journalist Susie Steiner featured a replica poster as a Christmas gift suggestion. Soon, other companies followed the Manleys' example and began printing replicas of the poster. Around this time, others also began making replicas of the poster. However, they were changing the theme of the poster to fit their idea of what would sell.
In 2011, several companies fought for the trademark of Keep Calm and Carry On, including the Manleys of Barter Books. But it was later decided that the words were too widely used for one person to own the exclusive rights. However, the words are still protected in all EU countries.
Nowadays, you'll see spoofs and variations of the Keep Calm posters all over, as it is one of the more popular memes on the internet. It has also been used from rock groups to groups pushing their political ideas. So that's the story. Let's spend a few minutes with our comments on that story, and we'll start with you, Kyle.
I'm just excited. I love this story. I guess I had a fuzzy, when I suggested it, I had a fuzzy remembrance of this because I was thinking the posters didn't go up, or at least a lot of them didn't, and it was because they were expecting invasion. But I'm just, it kind of gives me goosebumps just to think that those posters could have, though they're funny to us, and I have my own. I purchased a shirt that has its own little. It's from Doctor Who, so like I think it's funny, but to look back and think, oh, this could have been used as like a pacification tool for people who were invaded by the Germans in World War II. Like if that was an actual narrative of something that happened, that one of the greatest superpowers in the world at that time was invaded by the other great superpower of the time. Like that's like game-changing, altering history, and this is just like a little cover on it, right? Just how the posters could have been used to pacify people in a time when they could have been like really, really scared, really bad. It would have been weird story to tell if it actually came true. We probably would not be using those posters today if that's the case.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, they would have run gone and destroyed. But I thought it was an interesting story as well. I wasn't as familiar. Obviously, I'm familiar with the Keep Calm posters. Anyone that probably has the internet is. But I thought it was interesting that it was kind of abandoned so quickly. I mean, they started hanging the posters in mid 1939, and by 1940, it was done. Like, that's it. That short little window of hanging posters, and how now, so many years later, that is a popular thing that's happening. That's kind of taken hold in mostly in like the geek culture, which is a culture that we're a part of. That it's taken hold. So it's pretty interesting to me.
Honestly, like the first time I remember seeing it was like Keep Calm and Chive On.
Yeah.
Like I just thought that it was developed by some really smart marketing team like 10 years ago.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I kind of had no idea like the story behind it.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw it, and it was like Josh said, it was a really popular meme. I thought that it was a much bigger thing when I heard that it was propaganda used by the British, and I had no idea about the rest of the story.
Yeah. So
it's funny.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, knowing that story, it makes me think that way. Like when things get bad, I always think of a slogan like, there are companies right now like who are having a hard time getting their employees to take vacation, because why are they going to take vacation? Like, it's the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like they're just staying home, but it comes across in my mind like they are trying to promote PTO. So in my mind, it's like keep calm and take PTO, or keep calm and enjoy PTO, right?
Well, as we've been talking about the story, I was thinking, because we have a few channels and Geek Cetera is our brand. Like, could we do like a Keep Calm, Geek On, something? But I also see like the seriousness of what the message initially was, and almost feels like it's been cheapened by what's happened, in an effort to sell posters and shirts and stuff like that. But yeah.
It's crazy. Like, what would have happened if they never opened that box and like never found that piece of art? Like, would we have found it like otherwise?
I'm sure certain historians would probably, and people who were
like,
history geeks would probably
knew
about it, but would it have blown up to what it is today? Probably not. And just from a bookshop owner who had a popular bookstore, hanging one poster in his bookstore, is blown up to what it is today. A pretty incredible story.
What do you think? Do you think that they should have the rights to that because they found it? Like, can people own words like that?
That's a good question. It's such a hard thing to own the rights to, but especially since it's from the 30s, and usually some trademarks like that will expire at some point. They don't usually last that long. But
I want to go back to an old episode of the podcast where we talked about Disney trademarking Hakuna Matata.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
Like,
thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, you can't.
We both get a point there. Like,
yeah.
Josh, how do you feel about that?
I don't know how I feel, to be honest. Part of me thinks that it's actually owned by the
British government?
British government, right? Because they're the ones that came up with the propaganda idea. But then part of it is like, well, Ernest Walcousins is the one that actually designed the what we're seeing. So how much of that rights should go under his?
Well, I think, and like, I think some artists make content and they just make it to affect people. They don't really make it to like own it. You know what I mean? Like, It's not about owning it. And I just like, at what point do things go into the public domain? Like, how long was it? Did it say when since they opened that box?
It was 2000.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they made the right call on that decision. I mean, otherwise, I think either the British government should own that, or at least, the artist.
It's interesting too how that propaganda campaign had two different posters that like I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can find
Why
the
did that
artwork
one
for them;
fit?
they still exist. Like, but you
Yeah.
only know of the Keep Calm, Carry On. You don't know of the other ones. The your courage, your cheerfulness, your this, your that. But when you
That was
see those
well
ones, you realize it's more. It makes sense that it was a propaganda piece to bolster morale during war. The Keep Calm, Carry On doesn't really read that way. It's just kind of like a statement of life.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I have. Do you guys have anything else to add for comments? So what do you guys think about the story behind Keep Calm, Carry On craze, the campaign, what it's become? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. We'd love to get your opinion. Thanks for watching, and keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm, and Han shot first.
Yeah, he did.